Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Brian Donnelly. The Spirits Educator is a digital education platform and trade resource for the distilled spirits industry. My aim is to provide in-depth spirits information, brand transparency, and category education for distributor sales teams, hospitality and service industry members, and motivated enthusiasts. I currently work for a major wine and spirits distributor, but my work here on the Spirits Educator is completely unaffiliated with my current employer. Today I'm going to be talking about one of the coolest innovations that the Jack Daniel's brand has made in some time, and that's the Jack Bonded series, or the bottle and bond options from Jack Daniel's. I'm going to be referencing a script that I wrote so I can communicate all this information correctly. If you'd like to read my full write-up on this topic, I'll include a link below in the description. Alright, let's start with an overview. Jack Daniel's Tennessee Whiskey, or Old No. 7, is undoubtedly the beating heart of the brand and the American whiskey category, both domestically and abroad. The brand has a ladder of different products and labels to allow fans of the brand to trade up. An example of this is trading up from Old No. 7 to Gentleman Jack, or you could experience what a super premium offering of Tennessee whiskey looks like with the Jack Daniel's single barrel lineup. With the increasing popularity of premium American whiskey, especially in the bourbon category, Jack Daniel's has continued to evolve and evaluate its family of brands. The Jack Daniel's Bonded series was released in 2022 as a permanent addition to the brand. Created under the supervision of Master Distiller Chris Fletcher and Assistant Distiller Lexi Phillips, the Bonded series raises the brand's credibility with craft whiskey drinkers and potentially recruits new customers. The Jack Daniel's Bonded series, which includes Bonded, Bonded Rye, and Triple Mash, was created to showcase the level of craftsmanship at the distillery and to offer the perfect range of products for mixing classic cocktails. Each of these products must meet the criteria for the Bottle and Bond Act of 1897, which stipulates that the whiskey must be from a single distillery, from one distilling season, so that's January to June or July to December, bottled at 100 proof or 50% ABV, and aged at a federally bonded warehouse for a minimum of 4 years. The price of the Jack Bonded series falls between Gentleman Jack and Jack Daniel's Single Barrel. Jack Bonded and Jack Bonded Rye are line priced and have a suggested retail price of $33.99, about $8 more than Old No. 7 and around $3 more than Gentleman Jack. Jack Daniel's Triple Mash has a suggested retail price of around $36.99. At the time of recording this video, the Bonded series is available in a 700 milliliter and 1 liter size. The 700 milliliter bottle is the standard size in Europe, and it would not surprise me if more suppliers start switching their 750 milliliter bottles to 700 milliliter bottles soon, so they do not have to make two different sizes for both the American and European markets. Next, let's talk about the production behind these products. All Jack Daniel's products worldwide are distilled at the Jack Daniel's Distillery in Lynchburg, Tennessee, about an hour and a half south of Nashville by car. The distillery uses 3 different mash bills: the signature Tennessee whiskey mash bill of 80% corn, 8% rye, and 12% malted barley, a rye mash bill of 70% rye, 18% corn, and 12% malted barley. They recently released a Jack Daniel's single malt whiskey distilled from 100% malted barley, but at the time of recording this video, the Jack Daniel's single malt is only available in duty-free travel retail, but I'm sure that will change at some point soon. A brand's recipe is their mash bill plus their yeast strain. The distillery uses a proprietary yeast strain which can be officially traced back to 1938 and is maintained by a full-time microbiologist. The fermentation process lasts between 4 and 6 days and uses between 0 and 30% sour mash. If you're unfamiliar with sour mashing, sometimes referred to as backset, it is the technique used to increase the fermentation liquid's acidity by adding the acidic residue that comes out of the base of the beer still after distillation. All mash bills are double distilled to 140 proof or 70% ABV, and then the new make spirit, also called the White Dog, is gravity fed through 10 feet of sugar maple charcoal. Officially called the Lincoln County process, this step of charcoal mellowing legally separates Tennessee whiskey from bourbon. Next, water is added to the whiskey until it reaches a barrel entry proof of 125 or 62.5% ABV. All water for Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey comes from the Cave Spring Hollow, which is an on-site natural limestone filtered water source. All Jack Daniel's is aged on-site on the extensive distillery property in new American oak barrels with a proprietary toast and char level. These barrels are made at the Alabama Cooperage in Trinity, Alabama, formerly known as the Jack Daniel's Cooperage. Previously, parent company Brown-Forman operated the cooperage to make custom barrels just for the Jack Daniel's brand, but they sold the facility to Independent Stave Company in 2024. The cooperage will still continue to produce barrels for the Jack Daniel's distillery as part of a strategic relationship between the companies. Before I go into each product individually, I just want to share a few thoughts I have on this new series. The bottle and bond label was the original consumer protection law, and it gave drinkers a sign of quality at a time when there was no transparency and a lot of deception. The growth and popularity for bourbon and American whiskey shows no sign of slowing down, which means that the price will continue to rise and more players will enter the game. Customers are inundated with endless options at every single price point. It can take a lot of work to cut through all that marketing. Whiskey drinkers are again looking for things like bottled and bond certifications to reassure them of a base level of quality and indicate that they can still find a whiskey that offers excellent value for money. Smaller or startup brands always use the term craft, but just because you're small doesn't mean your product is any good. All the Jack Daniel's whiskey in the world is distilled in the small town of Lynchburg, Tennessee, and the parent company Brown-Forman does control the entire production process from grain to glass. Even though Jack Daniel's is the world's best-selling whiskey brand, this checks all the boxes for craft for me. The Jack Bonded series gives fans of the brand, Tennessee whiskey, or even bourbon drinkers access to excellent craft whiskey at a relatively affordable price. First, let's talk about the flagship product, the Jack Daniel's Bonded Tennessee whiskey. I have a bottle here on my desk. So here's what the bottle looks like. Here's the label. Let's see if this will autofocus. Here's the front label. Here's the side label. You can see, maybe you can, the embossings on the bottle. And you may notice that this bottle has a different shape and texture than the old number 7 bottles that you typically see. The bottles for the Jack Bonded series are actually modeled off the original bottles used by the Jack Daniel's brand. They have this really cool retro, throwback, almost vintage feel to them. And it is my understanding that Brown-Forman is going to eventually transition all Jack Daniel's packaging to this throwback original bottle. So I think it's a really cool move that the brand's made, and they've started it with the Bonded series. Introduced in 2022, Jack Daniel's Bonded shares the same ingredients and whiskey making process as Old Number 7. This bottled and bond Tennessee whiskey is distilled from a mash bill of 80% corn, 8% rye, and 12% malted barley, and is charcoal mellowed. It adheres to the 4 primary rules of the historic Bottled and Bond Act of 1897. A testament to its quality and authenticity. This act mandates that the product must be from a single distillery from one distilling season, so that's January to June or July to December, aged in a federally bonded warehouse for a minimum of 4 years and bottled at 100 proof or 50% ABV. Jack Bonded is not just a 100 proof version of Old Number 7, but a unique blend of select barrels chosen for their depth of character. And the official cocktail suggested by Brown-Forman for this product is the Boulevardier, which if you're unfamiliar with the Boulevardier, it is a take on a Negroni used with typically bourbon or American whiskey instead of gin. So that would be 1 part Jack Bonded, 1 part sweet vermouth. My personal favorite sweet vermouth for whiskey cocktails is Carpana Antica, and 1 part Italian aperitif, which is a generic term for using a product like Campari. But there are lots, especially now, there are lots of other cool options that have that similar kind of Italian bitter aperitif flavor profile. But if you want, stick with the classic, use Campari and garnish with an orange peel. So that's Jack Bonded, sweet vermouth, Campari, and an orange peel. And if you want, you can always play around with the different ratios. If you want to, minimize the Campari part and increase the whiskey part, you can always tweak those ratios. All right, next is the Jack Daniel's Bonded Rye Tennessee Whiskey. Again, I have a bottle here on my desk. So you can see, same throwback bottle. Front label. Side label. Embossing on the back. You can see on all of this, there's even some embossing on the front. Just a beautiful bottle for the price. Jack Bonded Rye is distilled from a mash bill of 70% rye, 8% corn, and 12% malted barley, then charcoal mellowed, and follows the 4 primary rules of the Bottle and Bond Act of 1897, which means this product is from a single distillery from one distilling season, January to June or July to December, aged in a federally bonded warehouse for a minimum of 4 years, and bottled at 100 proof or 50% ABV. This product is line priced with regular Jack Daniel's Bonded and won a gold medal in 2024 at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. The official cocktail recommendation for this product from Brown-Forman is the 133 is what they're calling it. So this is a cocktail that contains Jack Bonded Rye, Amaro, grapefruit liqueur, and a grapefruit twist. So 1.75 parts Jack Daniel's Bonded Rye, 1 part Amaro, 1 part grapefruit liqueur, garnished with a grapefruit twist. And Brown-Forman is calling that the 133, or the 133. And the final product in the bonded lineup that I'm going to talk about today is the Jack Daniel's Triple Mash Blended Straight Whiskey. So, here's the bottle. And this has a red label. Triple Mash. The Jack Daniel's Triple Mash was the first bottled and bond blended straight whiskey in the United States. The distillery produces 3 different mash bills. The signature Tennessee whiskey mash bill of 80% corn, 8% rye, and 12% malted barley. The rye mash bill of 70% rye, 8% corn, and 12% malted barley. And the third, the single malt mash bill of 100% malted barley. The Jack Triple Mash blends 20% bonded Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey, 60% bonded Jack Daniel's Tennessee Rye, and 20% bonded Jack Daniel's American Malt Whiskey. All 3 whiskeys meet the stipulations of the Bottle and Bond Act of 1897. Each whiskey is aged entirely separately for at least 4 years and then blended in a tank on site in Lynchburg and bottled at 100 proof or 50% ABV. And the official cocktail recommendation from Brown-Forman for this product is called the Old Pal. So that's 1 part Jack Daniel's Triple Mash, 1 part dry vermouth, and 1 part Italian aperitif, which I assume is their generic term for Campari. And this is garnished with a lemon peel. And again, with any sort of cocktail, you can always tweak the ratios to enhance or minimize certain flavor profiles that you really like. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to this channel. If you'd like to support this channel further, please consider becoming a Patreon member or gift me a cocktail through the link below in the description. Thank you so much again for your support. If you'd like to be notified anytime I have new content on my website or this YouTube channel, please consider subscribing to my email newsletter. I'll have a link below in the description. Thank you so much again for watching, and as always, please drink responsibly.